People want to know my testimony, so I'm going to tell it because I wear it on my sleeve. As a child, I had frequent spiritual experiences. The oldest memory I have of them is every night from a child. I woke up at 3:22 a.m. and I knew this because I had a physical alarm. Like, my alarm wasn't on my phone. So every time I woke up, I got up to look at the alarm so that I can make sure that I was up in time for school. But I was up more than in time. I was looking at the clock and I would see 3:21 turning 3:22, 3:22 turning 3:23. At first, oblivious of what's going on. And that's all it had ever been. On top of that, I would see my closet door cracked a little bit. But with my imagination, like my childlike, innocent imagination, I thought that it was my favorite Toy Story character, Woody, watching over me while I slept. So it really made me sleep better, if anything. But one day, I saw a man, a real person. I woke up 3:22 as usual. Now, at this point in time, my bed was facing opposite of my window. So from my bed, I could look through my window. When I looked at my window, I saw a man. It was a man with a close to 5'7" height. He had a tribal mask. He had African attire, a lion cloth, animal leather shoes, no shirt, no pants. He looked very primal. And I stared at him for about 20 seconds. I stayed on the second floor. So the man was clinging to my window like a gecko, like a lizard. The man was clinging to my window with like four arms up. So I was a little shocked, but I didn't understand what I was really seeing. It was just like confusing to me. As a kid, I wasn't very self-aware. Like, I don't think anyone is at this age. And I wasn't much different. I was not very self-aware. So I'm confused about what this is. I'm not really scared. I'm not happy. So I just brush it off, right? It's imagination, frankly. But as time kept on going on, I started to have my first experiences with horror movies, thriller movies, like Insidious, things like that. And I started becoming a little more self-aware. So I realized that my imagination changed from whatever was behind my closet door being Woody to it being some demon. This was the first time that I really started thinking that, wait, that's not right. Something's off. Like, this is in the scary movies that I watch. So I started assuming that it was a demon. What I would do about that was, when I woke up at 3:22 and I saw that my closet door was cracked, and keep in mind that I slept with either my closet door wide open, like as far open as possible, or I slept with it closed. I would just close it before I go to sleep because I was terrified of it. But every night, I wake up at 3:22, it would be cracked. And what I would do is I would cowardly crawl to the edge of my bed, and I would reach across the edge of the bed towards the light because the closet door was in front of the edge of my bed, a little closer to the right of it. My bed was pressed up against the wall, and then the closet door is directly across, and I could reach the light switch from the edge of my bed. I'm pretty tall, so I don't know if that's far or not, but I reached and I would like just look away from the edge because I didn't want to see what was behind the door. So I would turn on the light. And I did that because I had heard frequently that light kills darkness, or that's the common theme inside of scary movies or superhero movies. So I assumed that the same principle applies in real life. So I would always turn on my closet light. It would kill whatever was behind the door, and I would go back to sleep. After a while of cowardly crawling to the edge of my bed and turning on the light so that I could go to sleep, I got tired one day, and I actually felt like I was a wimp because I was too fearful to go to sleep without turning on the light, or at least standing up like a man and confronting whatever it was. So one night, I get up in the morning at 3:22 a.m. and as usual, I look at my closet door, it's cracked. Okay, here we go. At first, I plan on crawling to the edge of my bed. I get there. But then I felt this wave of courage pour into me. So I sit back into my bed and I say, no, I'm not gonna do that again. I'm not some wimp, I'm not a coward. So I stood up and I said, like a man, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna flip the light on. And I thought that wasn't cowardly because at least I was sure I was still flipping on the light to get rid of the demon. But to my credit, I was standing up on my 10 toes and I was gonna walk up to it. And I was just like, this is what it is, right? So that's what I do. I get up, I start walking towards the light. And I walk towards the closet trying not to look behind the door, but also trying to maintain a prideful stature. And I reach towards the light switch. My hand caressed the bottom of it. I was just there, about to turn on the light. I stared at the light switch for about 10 seconds. I was just staring at it, like just looking. And at one moment, I felt pride rush through me, like I was undefeatable. I was like, whatever this is, it's not gonna make me into a wuss. Like I'm about to confront you right now. Like it's right here, because that was the closest I'd ever been to the actual being. So I'm like, I'm right here. Like I can actually see you. I can look to you. I can confront you. So instead of flipping on the light switch, I simply turned my head. I just looked behind the door. And what I saw was pitch blackness. But there were two eyes that looked like bat eyes. Like they were big eyes. They were glowing red, like neon lights. And I ran. That fight or flight instinct kicked in. I said, I'm about to fly. Like I ran so quick that once I got to my mom's room, she heard me screaming, Mom. She was already getting up out of her bed. I was trying to leap into her arms. Instead, I ran into her tooth. It was bad positioning. I was going too fast. My head jammed into her tooth. And I actually still have the scar. I'll see if it's visible. Hopefully it's focused right. But there's a little line in the middle of my forehead that comes from me running into her and hitting her tooth. Now, my mom was panicked. Her room was dark. She felt the impact of her tooth on my forehead, so she knew that I had took some injury. So she rushed me into the restroom to unveil the injury, and when I walked into the restroom, my forehead was drooling blood. I had a white t-shirt on. It was blood all over it. It was blood all over the counter. I remember it being like a horror scene. I had blood on the mirror. I was like, it was weird. It was like my face was covered in blood. Like my face turned red. I remember looking into the mirror at myself, and I was stoic. I was just like, it was pretty scary. Now, after that experience, I had kept quiet for a little while. But I think the adults in my life started seeing that there was something a little more serious than they thought going on. So, being self-aware, I knew that that wasn't right. Something was wrong. So I started questioning the adults around me, beginning with my mom. I started asking her, are you pulling pranks on me? Are you doing some cruel jokes on me? Like, are you the one doing this to me because it's scaring me? Like, I was close to being traumatized by these things. And I was telling my mom, like, you gotta stop that. Like, I don't like that. And I didn't know how to describe it, but I was just like, I don't like this. Like, it doesn't feel good. So after her, I began questioning the other adults. And they would ask me a few questions back. I gotta do a part 2 for this. Man, I ran out of iCloud storage, so I gotta do a part 2. All right, continuing where I left off. The adults in my life didn't really seem too interested in whatever I was talking about. They may have thought I was seeking attention. And I understand it because I'm an only child, so it makes sense that not having siblings or other kids and stuff to talk to would make them suspicious that I was doing everything I was doing for attention. But I was serious, and what I saw was real. Now, to feel the whole of being misunderstood, being depressed and loveless, I made weed and sex alongside status my idol. I thought that love was a weakness, yet I came to the conclusion that the purpose of life was to love those around you and to have others love you. That was my conclusion. So I thought that nothing mattered outside of yourself and your immediate friends and family. Nothing else mattered. Because in the longer range of time, we're just a speck of dust. You look at the timeline of the earth, we're nothing. We live for 80 years and we don't make too much of an impact on the world. For at least not for billions of years, right? But my view is radically different now, right? At that time, I was taking my first steps into the streets. I was planning out how to buy guns and rob plugs with my closest friends. It was bad. At the age of 11, I started smoking weed. When I turned 14, I started doing pills. At the age of 11, I started watching porn. And at 16, I cut both of those things off. I stopped watching porn, I stopped doing pills, I stopped smoking weed, I stopped sex. Like, I cut off all of that. Now, before that though, what led to that was I was in a relationship with a female and we were just lusting after each other. Like, we were just lusting. It was bad. It was extremely toxic. We had confusing worldviews. We weren't really too solid in what we believed. And that caused us to fall apart mentally. And at one point, we were just connecting to each other off of trauma, per se. For lack of better words, I say trauma. We were bonding off of trauma. And At one point during that relationship, I started to think, like, this isn't the type of person who I want to be with in the future. But I stopped judging her because at the end of the day, I was the one who chose to be with you. And instead, I started looking deep at myself. And I was like, I'm the type of person to be with a person like this. I don't want to be this type of person anymore because I want something bigger and better for myself. I started looking at what I was trying to do, selling drugs for money, having females make money from me in sexually explicit ways, doing all these different things. And I looked at the people around me who did the exact same thing whenever they were my age. And I started thinking, how dumb is it that I think by doing the same thing, I'm going to get a different result than them? I started thinking, what is my goal? It's a question I've been pondering on for years. What is my goal? And I started to think, my goal is I want to be in a suit and a tie around billionaires. I want to be around people who are brilliant and hardworking. I want to be around people who will have conversations with me about billions and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I know I'm not going to get that from the street life. It's going to be people who won't be able to talk about how they get their money or where they get it from, who gave it to them. I saw myself with gorgeous women being at a cocktail party networking so that I can improve my business situation, so that I can have a franchise of my own. I had these beautiful views, but the life that I was living said that I didn't really want it. Sure, I said it, that I wanted it. I wanted the billions of dollars, of course. But the lifestyle I was living said I'm settling for less. So I stopped. One day I asked God, if you're real, show to me the spiritual things that you showed me back then. If those things are real and I wasn't just hallucinating, show me them again. I want to see it, and then I'll follow you. And sometimes I think about that, and I remember the thief on the cross who said, get me off of the cross. He said, get me off of the cross, and then I'll follow you, son of man. If you're the son of man, get us off of the cross, and then we'll follow you. That was me. That was me. I was that thief. Unfortunately, I was the thief that said, God, all I ask is that you remember me when you enter your kingdom. Nonetheless, God still told me that I'll be with him in paradise. He showed me another spiritual experience. And after that, I started seeing more and more frequent spiritual experiences. And I started to believe. Deep down, my conclusion on that is that God knew that the only reason that I didn't follow him was because I genuinely was curious about the spiritual things I went through. I genuinely wanted the answers to that. I genuinely wanted to know, why did I have to go through that? I didn't have any problem necessarily with God. Of course, I was like, God, you're the one who showed me this, so I do have a problem with you. But at the same time, I didn't even know if there was a God. So I was just like, why did I see that? Why? Like, why couldn't it be someone else? Like, that stuff traumatized me. And there was another experience that was more terrifying after the first one I just told you about. It was another experience that actually finished the job. It traumatized me. Like, it was so scary. It still brings back some of those emotions when I think about it today. But I never felt that fear. The fear that I felt during that moment, I never felt again. It's a different type of fear. Like I was prey being hunted on. Like I was literally about to die physically. Like something was about to kill me. Like I had a gun pointed to my head like that. Now, I didn't have a gun pointed to my head, but that's how it felt. Not that I've ever had a gun pointed to my head. I've been close to being shot at, but that was a different type of fear. different than being in a shootout or any of that. But I finally had the answers. I finally saw that God showed me what he showed me because he knew that that would give me faith. He showed me those spiritual things so that I could trust him, so that I could believe in him, and I could follow him and represent him and be a witness for him. So no longer am I fretful, or no longer am I resentful to God about the things that he showed me. Now I know he did it so that I could have faith, so that I could walk the way that I walk, and so that I can encourage the others around me who are lacking faith, that there is only one true God and he is real, and his name is Jesus. He loves you and he wants an intimate relationship with you, not just, now lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep you. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my... No, he wants an intimate relationship with you. The same intimacy that we seek when we try to have sex with someone. He wants that type of intimacy with you. And I want people to realize this. Sex, if you get intimacy doing sex, imagine how much more intimate you can be with the God of the universe who created you to be able to have sex. He wants an intimacy deeper than you, like deeper than any other type of relationship you've ever had. He wants something so close to you that you'll never want to leave from his presence. And I'm a witness to it. And now, instead of blaming God or hating God for what he showed me, I thank him, because now I have faith in him. And now I love him and I obey him to the best of my ability. My testimony is real. And I know that you have one too. So follow Christ to the end of the earth. He's trustworthy like no other.